Look at the Crusades, the Inquisition, and the endless historical wars that were fought in the name of God. People look at this history and draw a very logical conclusion. Religion is a dangerous force, and Christianity has blood on its hands. That objection carries a lot of weight, because the history is entirely real. People acting in the name of the church have committed terrible acts of violence and oppression. But there is a jarring contradiction at the center of the faith. The founder explicitly told his followers, "Love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you." When his disciples tried fighting back, Jesus directed, "Put your sword back into its place, for all those who take up the sword shall perish by the sword." If the founder demands strict nonviolence, we have to ask, is a violent believer actually fulfilling the purpose of the religion, or are they weaponizing it against its own rules? For the first 300 years, Christians executed that blueprint perfectly. They endured intense state persecution, imprisonment, and execution by the Roman authorities without retaliating. Early figures like Justin Martyr and Polycarp of Smyrna stood before authorities, refused to abandon their beliefs, and died for them. They spread their message strictly through self-sacrifice and witness, entirely avoiding military force. History gets messy in the Middle Ages. Conflicts like the Crusades and the Inquisition involved real abuses, but they were deeply entangled in complex geopolitics, territorial defense against centuries of invasion, and economic struggles. Even today, the Church's teaching maintains strict parameters around violence. The modern Catholic Catechism allows for legitimate military defense under rigorous conditions, but it explicitly states that reaching the point of a deliberate desire to kill out of anger or revenge is a grave sin. When a Christian commits an act of unjust violence, they are disobeying direct instructions. The existence of cruelty in historical events proves the human execution failed, not the standard itself. To test the idea that religion is the primary cause of historical violence, we can look at a secular control group in the 20th century. The Soviet Union operated under an explicitly atheistic regime, completely detached from religious doctrine, yet it carried out state-sponsored oppression and mass violence. Maoist China provides another large-scale data point, where millions suffered under systemic brutality that was driven entirely by secular ideology. These regimes aggressively enforced their worldviews through public humiliation, ideological persecution, and widespread cruelty against their own citizens. Stripping away religious belief did not eliminate mass cruelty. The data shows that violence is a human problem, rooted in the human heart, rather than a uniquely religious one. If a person intentionally misuses a life-saving medicine to harm someone, we don't conclude that the medicine itself is toxic. We recognize that a corrupt human variable abused something good. The same logic applies to Christianity. Human abuse of a doctrine of love and peace indicates a failure to follow the rules, not a flaw in the teachings themselves. When the original blueprint is followed, the outcomes look completely different. Authentic Christian practice has historically driven the creation of hospitals, universities, expansive charity networks, and movements to abolish slavery. We see it in individuals like Teresa of Calcutta, who spent her life flawlessly executing that blueprint by serving the marginalized people on the streets. And we see it in Maximilian Kolbe, who volunteered to take the place of a stranger and give up his own life in the starvation bunker at Auschwitz. Human beings are entirely capable of terrible evil. But when Christians fail to live peacefully, they aren't disproving the faith. They are simply demonstrating the exact brokenness that Christ came to heal.